The second Vice President of Uganda, John Babiiha. When traditional institution was abolished in 1967, John Babiiha became the Republican Vice President of Uganda. He is born on the 17th of April 1913 in Toro, Western Uganda. He was Vice President under the Uganda People's Congress, UPC government, led by Dr. Apollo, Milton, Obote. He served the people of Uganda as a Minister of Animal Resources from 1967 to 1971. He was one of the founding members of the UPC party in 1959. In December 1969, when President Obote was injured in an assassination attempt, John Babiiha temporarily assumed control of the government. He then declared a state of emergency. Babiiha died in March 1982. He studied at St. Joseph College, Mbarara, and St. Mary's College, Kisubi. He was awarded scholarship to study at Makerere University College, where he got his diploma in veterinary science. He worked as a veterinary officer from 1939 to 1946 before joining the Toro Kingdom government as Secretary and Assistant Treasurer to the local parliament. In 1954, John Babiiha was nominated by Toro Parliament to the Uganda Legislative Council. He stood for the parliament for Toro Central in the first Ugandan election of 1958. As a leader of his own Uganda People's Union Party, and again the general election of March 1961, he won his seat in both elections. He then merged his party with others to form the Uganda People's Congress. Of Dr. Milton Obote in 1960. He became national chairman of the party. Obote offered him a post in his first cabinet in October 1962 as Minister of Animal Industry, Husbandry, Game and Fisheries. When Obote deposed the Kabaka of Buganda, he was then appointed Vice President of Uganda. At that time, John Babiiha was involved in an early unsuccessful assassination attempt when traveling in Obote's car, and a gunman opened fire, thinking that it was the president of Uganda, Dr. Milton Obote, who was in that convoy. But it was John Babiiha traveling in Obote's convoy. He escaped that assassination attempt. In 1971, when the army took over power in Uganda, he left for his farm in the west, and he remained in the background. He was a Toro rancher and farmer from western Uganda. He is the longest serving legislative council members and a local political leader who merged his party with Dr. Milton Obote People's Congress in 1960. And to be honest, he remained loyal during the constitutional crisis. He retired after the military coup of Idi Amin. Then later, Idi Amin sent him on a world goodwill mission in January 1973. The house of the former Vice President, John Babiiha, is now turned into a prayer center for the Pentecostal. He is buried at his home in Kibimba village, Fort Fortal municipality. When we talk about men of honors, he was one of those men of honor. John Babiiha, the Vice President of Uganda, was one of those men who served Uganda from the bottom of his heart. A man who will be remembered for a long time to come. We all know that in 1960, in the pre-independent Hutu revolution in Rwanda, more than 200,000 refugees crossed to neighboring countries of Tanganyika, Uganda, Burundi, and the Congo. The experience of Rwanda refugees in exile between 1960 and 1990 needs to be reviewed in its needs under historical and regional perspectives in order to understand the source that gave Rwanda Patriotic Front success that led to armed revolution taking power in 1994. A lot of questions remain unanswered. A lot of questions remain unanswered. and looming, the Pearl of Africa. We had been talking about mysterious assassination that had been taking part in Uganda since independence. And those mysterious assassinations had never been solved. Few days ago, as I was watching a political rally, one of the politicians was addressing the local people, and he told them that they started recruiting people since 1960 to fight against tribalism, because they wanted to get rid of this word called tribe. That is when I realized that there's something that does not add up. If they started recruiting people from 1960, and he was bragging that they were recruiting people from all districts in Uganda, that they managed to send some to study abroad, then they have to be very honest. They have to publish the name of those people they sent abroad and came back in 1960s, before we even got independence. That is when I realized that if that is so, if what he said is true, that they started recruiting in 1960, then all the mysterious assassination that had been taking place in Uganda after independence has something to do with these dark forces that were recruited in 1960. And that story tells a tale. And this is something serious that Ugandans have to try to investigate and find out. Was it true that there was a dark force already in 1960 recruiting from all the districts because they want to get rid of tribalism? But if you look at tribalism today in Uganda, it has never gone away. Those who are preaching those words that they wanted to get rid of tribes, they are the ones who are worst in divide and rule. They are the ones who are worst in promoting tribalism. You see, a tribe in itself is not something bad. Tribalism is something else. So we should not mix up, because a tribe will always be there, whether you like it or not. But tribalism is something we have to fight against, something we should not allow to happen. But when you go around bragging that you were recruiting people to fight tribalism and you wanted to get rid of tribe, then you are wrong. Then you don't know what you're doing. And when I heard that, then I realized that most of us has to go back to the drawing table and start investigating who were these people who were recruited in 1960 Are they still alive? Did they form a group of dark forces that had been assassinating Ugandans after independence? And whether we like it or not, it is time. We have to find out. Wherever the truth leads, it will give us a good feeling that the assassination of Ugandan had been solved and cannot go on without a proper arrangement. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be back.